Hey everybody, this is Spoonie, and since there's no official tutorial for Dark and Darker, I thought I'd make a quick start guide and share some tips and tricks for new players just starting out. I also plan to make this a little bit of a tutorial for those who have never played the game before, but if you're not a beginner, you may still learn a few things. When you first open Dark and Darker, it's going to ask if you have played on any other platform. That's because you can link your accounts so that if you're used to playing on PC but decide you want to play on console, you can seamlessly switch between the two without having to play different characters. All of your progress and loot will be accessible regardless of what platform you last played on. The next step is going to be picking your class. There are 9 total at the time of making this video, but multiclassing was once a thing. It has since been removed for rebalancing, but it may come back in the future. For now, you'll have to choose one of these 9 predefined classes. I would personally recommend starting out with one of the melee or ranged-based physical damage heroes. The fighter, barbarian, rogue, or the ranger is a good choice. These are the easiest to pick up and play in your first few rounds. The magic-based classes have a bit more ability switching on the fly, so I would say learn how to play the point and click heroes first while you get a hold of the other game mechanics. Personally, I'm going to start with the Barbarian. It's my favorite of the physical damage heroes. This is a high damage hero that takes big swings and is a bit lumbering and slow, but it does a lot of damage when it does connect a hit. Next, you'll want to name your character and enter the game. Before you enter any match, you're going to want to take a look at your default loadout. The starting gear that is on your hero can be customized and equipped by clicking merchants at the top of the screen and then selecting the squire. Once you have done this, you will want to click over to the Gear tab, and this will let you see the options available for your class. A lot of things that are useful aren't selected by default for some reason, and finding this page is a little difficult as the game really does absolutely nothing to point you in its direction. But it's really helpful to equip the potions and bandages and other armor items if they aren't selected by default. As for the Barbarian, the default is to have no chest piece for some reason, so I'm going to add that to my default loadout for some extra armor. Click Set Basic Gear and then equip Basic Gear. Now, anytime you die, this is what you will automatically equip for your next run. You can always swap out any of this equipment with the items that you have in your stash, but it's a good idea to come here even after successful runs to equip these potions before re-entering the dungeon. After all, these are free. They don't automatically replenish if you survive a run, so if you successfully escape, you will need to come back to this screen and click Equip Basic Gear again. Make sure the slots for the items you want to equip are empty, as clicking will never replace gear that you have already in these slots. It will only fill in the empty ones. Now that you have your default equipment selected, you'll next want to click on the Class tab at the top of the screen. This is the one area that honestly took me a while to even realize existed. When you click on this tab, it will by default show you the training screen, which is a system that is currently in development. What you want to do is click over to the Perks and Skills subsection. This is where you will really get a chance to customize your hero and your playstyle. Here, you can drag and drop perks and skills into their respective slots. As your hero levels up, you can equip up to 4 perks. At level 5, you will get your second, at 10, you'll get your third, and at 15, you'll get your 4th and final perk. You will gain experience on every run regardless of whether or not you live or die, so getting to level 15 doesn't take too long, and the perks are all passive. Regardless of your level, you will always be limited to just 2 skills. Leveling up won't make much of a difference here. Skills are active abilities and can be used in-game by pressing Q or E. Read over what each of these perks and abilities do, drag and drop them into their respective slots, and find the ones that fit your playstyle best. And that's it, now you're ready to jump into your first match. And you won't have to do most of this again until either you level up and want to swap out some perks and skills, or you decide to create a new character. Remember that the free version doesn't allow for more than 1 character at a time, so you will have to delete and recreate a brand new character if you ever want to switch classes. It's also a good idea to click on merchants and check out the various quests that they have available. Unfortunately, you can't see what you need to do to complete those quests until after you've accepted them, but there's no penalty for accepting quests and not completing them, so just go ahead and grab them all. To join a match, go back to the Play tab at the top of the screen, select the server that you want to play on based on where you live, then check out the dungeon map and select either solo, duo, or trio depending on if you're playing with friends or by yourself. I would personally recommend playing solo for your first few runs, that way you can be greedy about the loot that you find and stack up gold and experience before you join a game with friends. I personally like learning the ropes at my own pace without my sweaty friends trying to give me all of their pro tips. They're all a bunch of nerds though, so your mileage may vary. Okay, so you're ready to go. Hit start and join the queue. You will be placed into a tavern while you wait for the game to be populated. This usually takes anywhere from 10 seconds to 2 minutes. It's pretty quick. Feel free to annoy the other players by attacking them constantly while you wait, but know that if you use up all your arrows or throw your torches or drink potions, you won't have those items when you enter the dungeon. This also means that you can pick up the torches that everyone else is throwing and bring them with you into the dungeon. I'm a noob, and free loot is free loot. When the game starts, you're usually in some kind of small room, and more often than not, there is a chest right next to you. So be sure to pull out one of your stolen torches and check those dark corners. Open chests by pressing the use key, which is F by default, and then click on the loot that you want to take. Honestly, don't worry too much about taking common gear unless the stats are better than what you have equipped. There's going to be plenty of loot along the way that isn't common, and you are going to be severely limited on inventory space. Be selective about what you're taking to sell, because obviously less common stuff sells for more. While musical instruments take up a lot of space in your inventory, they only take up one slot on your accessory belt, so it's a good idea if you have an open slot to move those musical instruments to the accessory belt. Even if you don't use them, they sell for quite a bit. You can press 1, 2, 3, or 4 on your keyboard to select and cycle through the items on your tool belt, with 1 and 2 being reserved for weapons and 3 and 4 being how you will access accessory items like potions, torches, and other equipment. Pressing 3 or 4 multiple times will cycle through those items. Some of the chests you will find will be locked, but the majority aren't, and bigger chests typically mean better loot. If you do stumble across a locked chest, you can use lockpicks to unlock it. These can either be found in the dungeon or purchased before the match. The map that you see in the bottom right of your screen is all you will get in terms of directions or maps. You can't make it bigger, so you kind of have to learn as you go what areas of the dungeon you're in. But exits will always show up as blue icons, whether stairs, ropes, portals, or other exits, and paths deeper into the dungeon will always appear as red. This is also where you will find the timer for your current run. You have to either find an exit or a way deeper into the dungeon before this timer runs out. Once it runs out, you will die and lose everything you have on you. Many exits don't open until later in the run, so if you do find a staircase with a gate in front of it, or a portal that can't be accessed, you will simply need to just keep looting for a while or sit and wait. Many open around the 5-minute mark, but there isn't an exact time. Some are a little earlier and some are a little later. I have had a few not open until 1 minute and 30 seconds, so just be patient, but also be aware that these areas will attract other players, so probably don't just sit down in front of them. After a successful run, you will find yourself back at the landing screen with a full inventory and all of the gear you managed to escape with. To sell what you have, you will need to go back to the Merchants tab and select the corresponding merchant. You will then need to click over from the Buy to the Sell tab and then drag and drop or click any of the items you want to sell. When you're ready to finalize the transaction, just click Make Deal. You can also hold Shift and right-click any item you want to send straight into your stash, which is really useful for gold and other items you want to save for equipping after a failed run. It's a good idea to keep some backup weapons and armor for the next time you die so that you don't have to start your next run with that basic gear. Most items can be sold to multiple merchants, but there are a few that only a specific merchant will take, but the armorer, alchemist, and collector will buy just about everything you find. Be sure you stop by the treasurer to buy some of these coin purses and add them to your stash. Gold coins will automatically be added into these purses, and while gold coins stack up to a default of 10, you can fit 50 in these purses. They are considered legend items though, so unless you have the paid version of the game, you can't take them with you into the dungeons. You can use the gold you've made on these successful runs to buy items from either these merchants or on the marketplace from other players. You can buy items regardless of whether or not you're playing the free version or the paid version, but in order to sell items to other players, you'll need the paid version of the game. Upgrading to that full version is $30, and for more details, just click into the shop tab at the top of the screen. And those are the basics you'll need to get started. Don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps my channel, and if you want to stay up to date on gaming news and developments, make sure you subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.